Hi, Kelly and Rich from Wanderbus Adventures.
In a previous video, you would have seen us making our kitchen and doing a few other bits and bobs.
And this week, we are going to be working on those overhead cupboards.
Hope you enjoy. So in this space here, we're going to have an overhead cabinet with 3 doors on the front, and it's going to house our control panel. So in there, we're going to have our level gauges, our diesel heater switch, 4 switches for other things around the bus. When it comes to here, it's going to almost not completely terminate off. It's going to step in, then we're going to have an open shelf along the back of it, along the rest of here. So to make that, I'm starting with a long base. I just need to cut that to length first, then do a couple of things to modify that to house speakers and the light that's underneath it. We're already straight into decision making, so we can either take it back 7.5 here, so it's flush with the front of the unit as you enter the door, or the 15. So I'm going to try obviously the 7.5 first, see how that looks, and if we need to, we can always chop that back. Previously, about 10 years ago, Dave and I fitted these cross beams to the top so we could mark where the holes were, because we've already got captive riv nuts in the roof and in the wall. So we're just measuring up now and we can see where they're going to come on our cross brace for the bottom piece, just to give us a head start really. You know what they say about best laid plans? Well, the idea was there and it should have worked. However, our Wanderbus once again threw us a curveball. Once again, the wonkiness of the bus is causing us major issues. We've had to cut this in half, remeasure, re-drill these. We're going to put the piece of wood on here now that we had before, just to make a measurement to see how we're going to modify it, because all the pieces that we've cut, they're slightly not right, basically. Good morning. So yesterday we left you we were trying to think about how we're going to get this mounted and up. So the bottom's up now, as you can see, temporarily. It was difficult because the bus not just curves this way, which we did ourselves, but it's all like dog legs in and out. So when we had these up before, they kind of conformed to the vehicle, whereas this plywood, it definitely doesn't. So it took a little bit of effort to get the holes lined up to where we had the mounting points before, but we've done that now. I'm just going to take that on this beam, and then what I'm going to try and do is scribe in the end pieces. I just want them to divide and obviously connect the top, the roof, to the bottom for the strength. Anyone that has scribed a curved roof like this can appreciate the number of times I've taken it in and out and in and out. Basically, this allowed me to go from this to quite quickly to this once I had the first template made. Alright, so inside I do have a little void behind for things to pass through. At the end, obviously it's scribed because you're going to see that. So I've got a few cables to pass through and things like that. Here is going to be our control panel. It's not screwed together yet, so the next job is I'm just going to have a think about where I'm going to put all my fixings for this. Some of them will be visible when the cupboard's open, some of them will be hidden, but I want to try and keep them all hidden when the cupboard's closed, if that makes sense, whilst remaining strong. So I'm going to do a combination, I think, of butt joint screws, which are straight through, and pocket hole screws, just to hold it all nice and tight. So that will mean taking it all out of the bus to assemble it. I then had to disassemble it one more time to be able to mark up where the holes would pass through into those captive riv nuts in the roof. Before moving outside to drill a 140mm hole for our speaker, and then I hand it over to Dave to route out the groove for a neat LED light strip, whilst I assembled the rest of the cabinet using pocket hole screws. We did this to just save a little bit of time, divide and conquer. Are you being a train? Yeah. Woo-woo! We used a 15mm cutter to give us this really tight trough. This is going to be for our LED lights later on. We then screwed it all together with pocket screws and just butt joints at the back. So a combination to give us some strength before putting it in the van. Alright, so it's again dry fitted in. I'm going to have to take it back out again. There's a few more holes we just need to shore up, but it is absolutely solid, which is great. It needs a bit of tidying up, need a little bit of finessing before we make the doors. So far so good. Alright, because we changed the way the cabinets were sort of set up, the doors that I'd had cut before don't fit, so I guess if I was to do it again, I wouldn't have got them cut. I use that wood for something else now. Thankfully I've got a sheet of ply here, and I'm going to cut fresh doors from them. The sheet was cut to the length first, and then I cut 3 doors of identical size. Later on I do have to tweak this though. The next job I'm actually going to do is fit the hinges. So we've gone for full overlay hinges, which basically means the cupboard front will overlay over the front like a normal cupboard door would, because sometimes you'll get them so they're inset. I'm going to set the centre to 15 centimetres. And what you get is this cutter, 35mm cutter, and this little attachment here, which basically determines the depth of it to make sure you don't drill through the board.
We have just fitted the hinges and put on the doors, but we are numpties and did not record it.
Yeah, of course record it, but they're just concealed hinges, so all we did, I don't think it's the right way of doing it, but I held them in place, Kelly screwed them in,
Yeah.
and then we've adjusted them. We've just got a few more bits to do. We're tinkering around with this, and we're going to try and oil it, take the doors off, drill the handles out, oil it, and then do these finishing touches underneath. There's some pretty sawdusty and needs a good clean before we can oil it. And then the control panel will go in here. I had to put a hinge in here, so I'm going to have to try and think my way around that.
Yeah, we forgot when we designed it about the hinge, because you just tend to forget stuff, isn't it? When you talk about so many different things and things just get...
It couldn't have gone anywhere else anyway, like if we put it there,
it wouldn't have opened properly, yeah.
Yeah, I'll think of a way around it. Before I carried on, I put some more screws concealed in this channel, and then sanded it down with 180 grit sandpaper before removing all the dust with tack rag, and then we oiled after carefully masking up in and around, because this stuff gets everywhere. It really seeps in behind and in between all of the gaps, which is good, but also a little bit messy. Okay, so oiled, got to dry, but I wasn't going to put them on yet, but I've got little arms that hold the cupboards open. I'm going to get those just to let some air flow through it and fit them now. They need to be fitted anyway. What I've got here is these guys here. Basically what it does, once it's open, it'll hold it open. So I've just got it propped up here. You get these little doohickeys inside. You get 3 brackets depending on how you're going to mount it. One that's sort of at a right angle, and 2 that are flat. So I'm going to use this one on the side and then this one on the door. And then the instructions, they're like really good. They're not. Basically it says, put screws on the wood plate, put the body of the arm on the fixing plate, adjust the screws, and away you go. That is not how I did it on the last one, because I am a rebel about course. I first of all actually clipped them in the bracket, because I've got the door open, propped open like this. I lined them up, I screwed them into the wood once they're all attached. And then what you do with this particular model, you have like a little Allen key doofer, And you can tighten it up. And while you just set basically the tension in this. And once it's open, job's good and like, there we are. Woohoo! Nice. Right, okay, let's get the last one done. Under here, we've got a 14 centimetre hole, and that's going to fit these focal speakers, well, one of, and then the other one will go over the other side when we finally build those, to match our setup at the front, where we have 2 component speakers, tweeters in the dash, amplifier, and a small subwoofer, which may seem a little bit excessive, but we thought, why not? It'll make perhaps traveling a little bit nicer, and we can use it when we are parked up as well. So I'm just going to pop this in here. It just attaches with 4 screws, and then we're going to wire it up to the cable that I've already popped up here. And then broke loose Sikaflex EBT and popped it in this channel, drilled through the hole for the cable to fit through, taped it up and let it dry before removing this thingy and putting the light in place. Now that's in, well, the tail's coming up here for the LED strip. This nest of cables here includes a cable I've got here that runs over the roof to the other side. It's going to allow me to make a parallel connection, but to be able to do that, I'm just going to need to cut both sides of this and then put it in a butt splice in one side, so both positives, both negatives coming out to this wire in here, and then that way we've basically got power coming to here and then paralleling off over to the other side to power both of those. This has been wired to a dimmer switch, so we can turn it up or down as we please. To make the control panel, it's going to go up in here. I've got a piece of 9mm ply here, lying about, half cut. I'm just going to cut up a shape. And I'm going to see if it's going to sit behind that hinge. I'm just going to cut it into its rectangle, and then we can see how we're going to lay it out. First of all, I drilled out some 19mm holes for these simple switches, and then that allowed me to wire up each to run off of one positive and one negative feed. Hinges out, I've just drawn on here where it needs to go. Wired these up as well. So these just trigger the relays that are down below. So perfectly happy with them being wired up like that. Just need to cut these out and then we'll see how it fits. First of all, drilled some holes out of the corners and then used my jigsaw to rough out the shapes before oiling with some Osmo oil, leaving it to dry, and then I labelled up all of the cables on the inside, so in the future if we take it out we know what does what. Go ahead.
Oh, it looks lovely.
Tap the Victron, bottom one.
Cool.
There's like a little cubby
in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's well cool.
And then all those switches work, we're just waiting for the label to come.
Yay.
Alrighty, so everything's finished. We've got a rail up here to stop our stuff flying off. Got a lip here to stop stuff flying out. Got these up here to hold it open. And then in here, we have our control panel. So we've got a labeler come in so we can make some nice little labels to go here. But we've got our diesel heater, our inverter controller, and our touch 50 here.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you are keeping well, and we will see you soon. 1, 2, 3.
Bye!